Welcome. So, for listeners of the Bravo Charlie Club and the space between, this is not the normal format you're used to in those podcast series followings. You may find us in those channels, but this is specifically an AI special edition deep dive. We're looking forward to sharing the time with you. Thanks for joining us. Today, I've got my mate Richard Uren with me. He's always with me on this journey, but Ben Slater, a longtime friend, has jumped into the saddle to have a look. And I think, for those who are joining us, again, this is definitely going to go past 12 and a half minutes. So stop now if you've got us on your commute. But we really want to get into AI, sometimes known as artificial intelligence.
Good call.
For basketball fans out there, that one's for you. Hey, Richard, why does this show exist? Why do we think that we've got a better or different take on AI when it's just got absolute global media saturation going right now? Why do listeners stay tuned?
I think stay tuned because I think the challenge with AI, while the tech's very interesting, I think it's putting it in context and pushing the limits of what it can do, how you can use it, how you can apply it, and perhaps maybe reflecting on some of the experience we have and leaning into sort of like what it means, where it might be going, those kinds.
And you're a software developer, right? So you're deep in the weeds of
we like
AI.
to call ourselves engineers, Ben. Software
engineers.
Because it's more hoity-toity.
Yeah, but you sound like a nerd.
Yeah.
And the shots from the cheap seats are coming from Ben Slater, who's also deep in AI weeds, but more from a marketing angle. Can you just tell us a bit more about that, mate?
30 years of doing this, and the last 3 or 4 months have been the most amazing of those 30 years.
Really?
Seriously amazing. I think every day I come up with an idea and I go, I want to build that. And then by the evening, I've built it.
And you've got it. It's incredible. It's a magical time, isn't it? Yeah.
It is absolutely amazing. Yeah. But then again, you build it and then you have another idea and then build something else. And 17 projects later, you've launched none of them. But or half of them. I'm probably on a 50% strike rate so far.
So do you think that listeners who have stayed with us, and thank you, are going to catch that last 3-month ride that you've been on? The whole, you don't pay the heart surgeon for the 10 minutes your heart is open. You pay them for the 30 years it took learning what to do.
Oh, absolutely.
When the heart is open. So that's you right now.
That's me right now. This is 30 years worth of experience in this industry and marketing and technology going, finally, it's coalescing. I actually had that discussion with my daughter the other day when she went out and got some nails done. Got her nails done. And it was $80 and for 40 minutes work. And I actually said to her, you're paying for the skill of the technician. You're not paying for the time that you're sitting in the chair, because they look really cool. It's exactly the same, but it's to the power of 1 billion now.
Got it. Interesting. And so someone playing on the marketing side, someone playing on the engineering side, and of course myself, who's like the amateur. And interestingly, I have a Claude account, and inside my own organization, I'm probably further along the path than the average colleague of mine.
You're the champion, Ben. You're the champion.
Yeah. I'm having a crack, but if anyone is, and I didn't want anyone to take me too seriously, so I put on my Australia, New Zealand, Hawaiian shirt. So if anyone on YouTube is wondering who the clown is, I'm easily identified, because I'm not pretending to be giving artificial intelligence in this one. So hey, let's dive in. Okay, so Ben, let's start with you. I don't want to hear about the hype. I want a distinctive and grounded read on where is this all heading, and what are the signals that you're catching, especially in that last 3-month comment, that the average bloke has said, no, we've all been building up to this point. It's taken 30 years to get here. What's the go?
Look, I think that we're at a stage at the moment where the product release cycle is just happening at a rate of knots. It has never happened as fast as what it is now. There was Anthropic, which is behind Claude. They had 54 releases in 74 days. a month
That's
or so
crazy,
ago.
isn't it?
It's
So
insane.
crazy.
Like, and X was just blowing up because everyone's like, "Hey, can you just give us a chance to settle in on what we're doing before you release something else?" But there's an arms race going on. So to look at the future, it's actually, you've got to look beyond what the tools are doing right now, and you've got to look at how humanity is going to cope with the broader picture. We're getting to a point where we're starting to think about this in a much more spiritual way rather than a technological way. And that's creeping into the day-to-day discussion. We're talking about job losses and education and changes and all that kind of malarkey. So I would strongly suggest that you have to start somewhere, though. Like, it's quite overwhelming. You're like, oh, you've done something, and even like, you find, Richard, you spend hours and hours and hours trying to work some new feature in, and then suddenly it's like, oh, it's now a button, because at the moment I'm building my own operating system, the BOS, the BNOS. I started that about 3 weeks ago, and it knows everything about me, and every project, I spent about 3 hours actually just talking to my AI, to my OpenClaw, about me, the person, so that when my operating system makes a decision, it does it for me, the person, not me, the program, or me, the marketer.
Can I ask you a question about that? Because on that specific project, you would have had to have given Claude full disk access.
I don't. Yeah, if you're looking to me for any kind of sort of security advice, I'm pretty careful. However, when it comes to, I'm not. So that sounded terrible. Security, yes. Access, I will give it access that it requires. So, as an example for that, I gave my Claude instance complete access to my email. Like, I've got 15, 20 years with a Gmail, all right, whatever it is. And I said, go. Like, it doesn't have the ability to delete. It has the ability to read and place into drafts. Can't send. Okay, so I can't go and delete all my email. Can't do anything like that. But I sent it in there, and it went through, I think it's about 800 emails to individual. And just let me go back. To do that, you have to go through a whole bunch of hoops, or you used to. I had to set up an MCP server. I had to do a whole bunch of nerd stuff to get it to do that and get access and permissions and things. And about a week later, it's like, now you can just add a connector. But, okay, cool. But anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what it did is it went through. And so that's the other thing. Do we say it? Do we say he? I don't know. What Claude did.
They.
Yeah. Was it went through and it looked at all of the communication that I've made to certain people and grouped it, and then came up with the Ben personas against all of those people. So it's so cool.
Interesting.
So when an email, it knows how I talk to Tracy, my partner. It knows how I talk to Ben Flintoff. It knows how I talk to clients, and that's not only talk to, how I act, whether I use g'day, whether I say use emojis. Like, it actually went through and it said, if when you talk to Tracy, my partner, you have a lot of in-jokes. Like, that was one of the things that it recognized. But so why would I do that? I do that because in my inbox, I'm going to let out a little bit of a secret here. Don't tell anyone. Is that when an email comes in, it will automatically draft an answer for me already and put it in drafts. Because it has the entire context of what we've been talking about. It understands my persona, and then I look at it and go, yeah, I'll just change that, whatever, and make some changes. And so,
how do you find it, Ben? Like, how do you find?
It's an 8 out of 10.
The accuracy.
It's an 8 out of 10.
That's
it's
awesome.
An 8 out of 10.
Awesome. Yeah.
And the cool thing is that when I send it back, it's going and looking at what I've sent back and adjusting from that point on. So
it's learning.
It's
which
learning.
is the idea.
Constantly learning. But I needed to tell it to do that. I needed to tell it to do those things. Now, in one sense, you could say, oh, you're cheating in your comms, but I'm actually not. I'm outsourcing what would normally take me 10 minutes to go, okay, what am I thinking about there? What was the context of the thing? Okay, I'll write that. I'll check my other email. I'll do that, whatever. Whereas I can just go through, yep, that's perfect, cool. I'll just add a little funny thing in there or something that's, more me, and send. Like today I sent an email to a client, and instead of calling him Rob, like I could call him Roberto. I've never done that before. And I'm sure Claude, when it replies next time, it'll call him Roberto, and I'll go, no, I'll change that because that's not what I'm doing.
Interesting.
But 90% of the email was written, and it was a response to an AdWords campaign. So my Claude, which is running the AdWords and running the campaign, doing all of the ad creation, doing all of the posting, doing all of the everything, I literally said, hey, can you just write an email to Rob giving today's updates and chuck it into drafts. I went through, and I think the one thing I changed was, hi, Roberto. Like, that was it. That was the only thing. So the rest of it was fine. Yeah.
That's interesting. That actually segues
That's
nicely
awesome.
into our next section, but I don't want to
Did I
jump
answer your
there
question?
yet. No, you haven't. No, you haven't. That's why I'm not jumping.
Long story short.
I'm so curious now. Like, tell me a bit about your stack. Then, like, we're
talking stack already.
I've got to get into the details. I'm still detail oriented.
Right.
You've got it connected to your email. You've got it, like you've mentioned.
How long you got,
there
Rich?
too.
Seriously.
Just maybe the like, how many services do you connect it into? So as an example.
Well, it's funny. I was at AWS yesterday for a OpenClaw session. There was about 100 in the room. They're talking about the AWS and OpenClaw working together, and how you can use OpenClaw to, instead of having like one of the 3 Mac Minis that I've got on my desk here. Yeah, there you go. There's part of the stack. And one of the people asked the question around cost, because there's a cost. There's an API cost. There's running costs. There's costs. You know? And he said, why would I spend $80 on that? And I said, well, and I put my hand up and said, I'm spending about $2,500 a month now on AI services. But the actual value that I'm getting out of that from output, like, and I know that if I was to build a website like the website I built last night, when I was developing and had an agency, that would have been 70 or 80 grand.
Yeah.
That would have been 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months worth of work. It would have involved art directors, developers, client meetings. Literally was driving home from AWS last night, went, that's a kind of cool thing. I should do that. And then by 2:00 this morning, I had an active working service that I could sell. So the actual cost of these services, if you lean into them in the right way, pales in comparison to output. Pales in comparison. So to your point, Ben, about having using one of the services paid for within your business, like, that's a drop in the bucket versus what you can get out of it. And it's not. And I'm not talking about efficiency. Efficiency just breeds more efficiency. This is the thing, especially within our marketing world. You get more efficient, you have to be more efficient, and you can't build for more efficiency. It's just you've done something quicker, therefore it has less value. But when you're producing a tool, an actual tool, that's when the game changes. So a stack, do 3 Mac Minis. I run my MacBook as well. I've got multiple servers that I'm running things on. I use Codex.
And are you running local models on those? Running local models?
I've started the new Google, Microsoft, what the hell is it called? Whatever it is. Yeah, no is the short answer, because I'd need to spend more time on it. And for the moment, I'm spending time rolling out stuff. Yep. So, but in saying that, I looked at that because when I was running my OpenClaw, when I set up OpenClaw in the first couple of days, I spent so much damn money. Like, it was ridiculous. I think I burned about $1,000 in tokens because I was using it to do everything. And then, oh shit, wait a minute, I need to not do that anymore.
And so you were using that via the API then? Mm-hmm. You were paying API rates instead of
I was because I didn't want to Anthropic let you do it, but you had a chance of being banned. So I just didn't connect it up. I just went, frick it, I'll just punch in my OpenAI API and get stuff done. And then looked at Kimi as well, and then started using that. And then, it is what it is. This is part of me is just having a crack and seeing what happens. Like I was saying before, just have a go. Like,
I think that's where you start, right? Yeah,
it is. Yeah. So I'm running Codex. I'm running Claude. I had Play with Perplexity Computer, although I've moved away from that now. That had a bit of hype, but it hasn't grabbed me. I think the Codex is amazing. OpenAI. Ben, do you know about this? You know about Claude, and yeah, Ben, you're all over.
Yeah.
The Codex.
Well, I'm into it. Yeah. In fact, now you are going to segue me into the next question. Yeah. Do you see AI as a great equalizer or is it a great divider? You know, we've never had access to this kind of intelligence, and communities that have never had access to this kind of intelligence and are getting it for cheap.
Oh man!
So are we going to collapse global inequality, or is it going to become a massive problem?
No, quite the opposite. So I look at this. It's such an interesting question. I look at this. So we look at how we came up through technology, right? So big boxes that took up rooms, and then it went to beige boxes that took up half a room. Then it went to, for us, it went to, there's a desktop to PC, and then from PC to mobile. That was Western sort of progression, all right? Whereas if you look at India and Asia, they went straight to mobile, straight to mobile. And that just changed things. Like I went to India and there was pay, what's it called? Pay something or other. And that was basically all payments go through your mobile phone. And that was, 20 cents you'd pay through your mobile phone. We were like, that's a micropayment. Why would you get charged 25 cents in bank charges? They're like, no, just use that. And that was primarily because mobile phones were cheap and accessible. Now, I'm guessing and putting a punt on this that the way that we are next going to move to the knowledge base that AI has is going to fundamentally change because of accessibility from cultures that have not had access to the internet, to information, to data like they're having with AI. So every bit of knowledge that we have that is currently being filtered through AI, so the global knowledge that is happening, all of that has come pretty much from Western and Chinese and all that, but that kind of information that's soaked into it. Whereas you've got some Kalahari bushman who's never seen a mobile phone before, suddenly has a mobile phone, not even with internet access, but with AI, and can punch up information that goes into the general knowledge of the universe of something which they've been doing for generations or millennia, which we've had no access to. There might be some kind of bush something that cures cancer, and they just chuck it in ChatGPT and, so this will I blah, blah, blah. And then ChatGPT goes, wait a minute, that protein, that enzyme, if we marry that up with this, then suddenly we've got that. So then
we all end up taking ice baths.
with Wilf, what's his name? Yeah.
Wim
you know
Hof.
what I mean? Wim Hof. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So
nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. That's fantastic. What episode was that on where you talked about your ice bath? Go on. Recall.
Early days.
Early days. Well done. So I'm actually so excited about humanity's knowledge. So excited.
Interesting. What about you, Rich? Do you see a risk? Can you speak on the other side, or are you as excited as Benny is?
Actually, I'm pretty pumped. I'm pumped because it creates so much opportunity. To buttress what Ben was saying before. You have an idea at 2 p.m. and at 8 p.m. You've got something mocked up. It mightn't be perfect. It's got rough edges. It might break down in a few areas, but you're like, that's the kernel of an idea. And so I think it just it so fundamentally changes how quickly you can build stuff that it's a different game. It used to be a team sport, but now you can with some nous and a bit of tenacity, you can go a long way. And so things that people wouldn't bother building because they're too long, too complicated, why does my Roomba keep falling down the stairs? I'm going to fix that, or whatever. You can literally do it.
Did you see that article? That dude tried to do and he exposed all of the cameras globally, for the vacuum
did
cleaner.
he
Yeah,
really?
he did exactly
I didn't
that.
see
He wanted to make a change to his, I think it was D-bot. He wanted to make a change to his own personal D-bot and managed to expose
He decompiled
every
it
single
down. It was
robotic camera
Oh
in
my
the
God.
world he had
Brilliant.
access to. And because he
Brilliant.
just did exactly what you're talking to. But we'll
The world
talk
needs
about
that.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Although there's
Well,
something scary about
I want to zero in on that team sport comment. Because is it true that AI's sort of messing things up a little bit? They're accelerating the workflow unevenly. Like
So I think
what's happening if I've got a Claude account and I'm working a traditional business, right? We're retail, we're QSR, but I've got a Claude account and my mate doesn't. Like I'm probably at a strategic advantage right now. Is that a fair comment?
I think it is, and I think the thing is that like you used to have a team and things had to go through a process. I think it's still very incredibly useful to be deep in some areas, but you have a breadth or a working knowledge of the sort of adjacent areas. So I'm a software engineer. I wouldn't call myself a interface designer by any stretch, but with some decent prompting and some decent examples, you can drop those things in, right, and get something that is pretty damn good, just by knowing. But you've still got to have an opinion, you've still got to have taste, and you've still got to sort of know what good looks like. But you can go pretty far. Now, I'm not going to be a product strategist or anything like that, but AI can get you a long way without needing dedicated talent in those areas. I think the challenge in big organizations where you've got a lot of stuff that works in lockstep is the organizational inertia behind trying to ship things and get things done. Mm-hmm. And so I think what's going to happen is that the future probably belongs to smaller, leaner organizations who can innovate quicker. And Anthropic is probably the world's leading example of that at the moment with their current pace, and that's largely because they've got AI building AI now, right? They're using their own tools to sort of accelerate their own development path, and just like Ben was saying before, and it's created this quickening, right, in terms of not only their output but in terms of other people's output as well.
It's an arms race.
So can we? Do you want to comment on that, Ben, or because
it was just one tip that I wanted to give you? You picked up, Rich, on design. So there is what I've been seeing is that people who design things in AI just go design this, make it look good. Whereas from an agency perspective, you actually have to go through brand decisions. You have to look at what is good, what is bad. Exactly right. You have to look for inspiration. You have to look for differences. So I believe that you still need to go through that process. Otherwise, we just have everything looking exactly the same. So spending almost the same amount of time, if you are developing something, designing something in AI, to actually walk down to the shops, say, take photos or get products or look in the real world and look for inspiration that's not just the same thing that everyone else has. Otherwise, you just end up with the great unwashed. There was a period where all design looks the way, the internet went through a green period, went through a lime green period, went through a dark period, it went through the apple white period, all the rest. So there is fashion, but I would just absolutely give advice to someone exactly like you said. Take the time to brief in properly when it comes to design. You just have to. And it doesn't have to
otherwise you just lose so much time too, because if you start off with poor direction at the start, it multiplies out into and you just get to a place where you're almost better off starting again.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah. And for listeners, at my
I think we all have.
of the knowledge base, you actually have a knowledge base in AI that you can feed with style guides and directions. So
correct.
You don't have to be continuously updating it. You give it at once and it can lean into that.
Well, funny you should say that, because that's part of my BOS is that I have a particular .md file, which is what Ben likes. in relation to style.
Nice.
So even though I feed in, here's the inspiration from, here's the photo, here's the whatever, it knows that I love clean space, love white space. All right. It knows that I don't like that particular font. It knows all of these things. And over time, it's not only taking in inspiration, but it's taking in my own personal. And I can throw that out. If the brand needs something that I don't particularly like, but it needs it, then it'll do it. But it starts off from that place. So it's continually learning. But it's learning about me. It's not learning about Richard. It's not learning about Mr. Flintoff. It's learning about me. Yeah.
Interesting. Now, Richard, something you mentioned just before reminded me, last time you and I were in Melbourne together, you were telling me about a training session that you'd been running. And if I remember it correctly, half of them were like developers and half of them were non-developers. And there was really, really interesting insights from what they were producing. Do you want to talk about almost like being a non-developer? And this is specifically for listeners who are like, oh, I don't know anything about software. You found that being a non-developer almost had an advantage.
That's right. Yeah. So it was really interesting. So we had I guess you'd call it a half-day AI workshop at work. Everyone got a Claude Code account. We had a brief that was to build sort of like a parallel function to what we had in our consumer app, using a stack that nobody had used before. So we have iOS, Android engineers, we have back-end engineers, Ruby on Rails, and we've got design, QA, product management, and someone from marketing who was there in the workshop as well. We were just building a Next.js front end, so that's kind of a basic kind of a front end app. But none of the developers had, while they were all programmers and they had that programming background, none of them had direct experience in that app. All different sorts of levels of AI use there. Some people are sort of using it for work. Some people are using it more for marketing than tech. And yeah, look, it was fantastic. So we had about 4 hours. Everyone successfully built an app. Everyone successfully shipped to the brief. But the really interesting thing that I found was that the non-technical people, the people that probably have more brand or more design awareness or even QA awareness, really, actually came out with kind of a bit more interesting mix of features, a bit better color. Design's not all something not how something looks too. Design's how something feels and how you use it, and the button placement and things like that. And I just thought it was a really interesting exercise. In that, I mean, everyone succeeded, everyone got something done, so everyone kind of felt good. But just when you sort of like took a step back and looked across the breadth of all the things that kind of got made, that was fascinating, because you'd often say, well, we're doing programming here, so we need programmers to build this. But perhaps maybe
not the case.
Perhaps maybe not the case, or certainly like a working prototype is a fantastic brief into like a tech team if they have to build something out. If you have to, let's say, if that had to be included in our app, then something that works and is fully functional is going to be way better than a bunch of static mock-ups or some Figma designs or something along those lines. And so it was quite eye-opening, I thought.
I've got a theory on that though. After 30 years of running an advertising agency and we were the tier 1 digital agency for Nestle for 7 years. So I had nerds and account managers and account directors and art directors and all the rest. And when I say nerds, I use that phrase with complete love. Like some of my best friends are nerds. And the way that a developer's brain works is, okay, what's excuse me, but what's the thing that's going to give me the least amount of trouble down the track? Okay, what's the thing that's going to allow me to do this thing right now and not have someone come back to me in 3 months and say, well, that button doesn't do what it used to do anymore because we've updated the thing. So they're always going to go for the lowest common. It's a function. It's function. It's function over form.
Yeah.
And yet, like you say, the marketers will go, okay, what? I mean, I'm dumbing it down, but what looks good? What it's form over function. And the amount of times within my agency life that they're butting heads. I'd have an art director saying, no, that button needs to be for a website, or that button needs to be there. And my dev team will go, well, it can't go there, because if we do that, then we've got to change the mobile layout, and we've got to change that. And then that means I've got to redevelop the whole stack. And my art director is going, but the button needs to be there,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and then to be honest, more often than not, it would be a 3 a.m. pizza session, just to get the button from the art director moved to there. Because at the end of the day, the people who are using the platform are the ones, or the whatever, are the ones that are going to actually make the decision, and they will revolt by not pressing that button if it's in the wrong place. So that's my theory. It's
Interesting.
It's just, long-term time saving. Yeah.
All right. Well, that brings us into an interesting place. Richard's had this training session where non-developers and developers were building, in effect, the same app with different results. So how do you hire someone now in the age of AI? Like, what are we looking for? Anyone can build something in a few hours. Like, what do we have to judge them on? Their fashion taste, or do they genuinely solve problems versus some sort of AI output? Or do we sign them up and say, here's your Claude account and get going? Like, what does HR and hiring look like these days?
I'm out of the loop when it comes to this, in terms of the processes that are involved. But I can tell you a quick story when we used to hire developers, and they get through to the first round. I remember there was this one particular instance. This chap came in and he was talk the talk, walk the walk, like had the gift of the gab. Said he knew every flipping language under the sun. I'm like, damn, kid, you're good. You're young, but you're good. I was like, I'll hire you straight away. But I thought, no, I better not just hire him straight away. I'll just get him to do we had a test set up, right? My devs had put together a test. And I said, okay, cool, man. Look, happy to bring you on board. We'll talk, go to the next stage, we'll talk about it. But just, can you give me an hour of your time to do this test? Said, yeah, absolutely. Put him in a little room. About 40 minutes later, he comes out and goes, no, I've decided I don't want the job. I was like, well, number one, I haven't offered you. He didn't know what to do. He was bluffing his way through the entire job and said all the right things. I would have hired an absolute lemon. And like, my dev guys just looked at what he did and it was like, what was he using? A crayon on the keyboard? What the hell was going on? So when it comes to actual development, I mean, you know this, Rich, and Ben, you do as well. There's a big black box going on under the bonnet. Big black box when you develop something. And I love looking at the code and the conversation, because you can see what people know, but you can see what the actual codex is writing and the decisions and the internal processes. I love that stuff. Okay, well, that's interesting. But there's a whole lot happening that you just don't know. So when you're hiring, I actually think now if you're hiring a developer, it's actually about being more well-rounded than anything else, than actually being specifically nerdy. I mean, but then again, people who are AI people are getting hundreds of millions of dollars, and I'm sure I don't know what
I know, they're crazy.
Look at Peter
Absolutely
Steinberg,
crazy, those wages.
Well, yeah, he who developed OpenClaw like in an evening, basically, off the back of an idea. I mean, he'd already sold a business for $100 million, so had that going for him.
Some pressure is off. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it was actually. It's exactly right. The pressure was off whether he took a job at OpenAI or Anthropic as well. And his legacy is agentic, the agentic models that are working at the moment. That he doesn't need to do anything else. It just fundamentally shifted the dial. But how would you test Peter's skill set to bring him on board as an employee? You just can't. You can't.
I think the thing is you have to look for deep experience, and so and I think when you, because I've been through a couple of interviews that he's given, and just you can tell by the fact that he spends about 75% of his time in conversation with the AI before he hits build, and I think that's the kind of perspective you get from spending a lot of time working with the tools and understanding why you spend that amount of time up front before you actually start to build. And to do that, you've got to know what good architecture looks like. You can't just race in and start building stuff. Otherwise, you get the sort of AI slop, that is unmaintainable and doesn't scale and has all sorts of bottlenecks. And so I think that you still need that deep understanding of what's happening in the internals for things like that to work. If you're part of a large team and other people are taking care of that, and like it's day one, you've turned up and you're kind of going to use AI to sort of start shipping some sort of small bugs or bug fixes or other sorts of things straight away, then fine, you're probably sitting at a different part of the stack. But I think if your remit is more broad and you're responsible for how it runs, how it's maintainable, and those kinds of things as well, then I think deep skills are still very helpful.
You've hit the nail on the head when it comes to planning. So Anthropic released today the Ultra Plan. So they've and this update really quickly. But Ultra Plan's cool, Ben. Basically, it's like hardcore planning in the cloud. So you're not using your local resource and everything for doing that, but it's almost a response to exactly what you were talking about before, Rich, in terms of this like you say, the slop that was out there. The ability to just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should do it.
Or if it's right.
If it's right, exactly right. So this Ultra Plan, which I think is brilliant, and I actually think my thought on that is that it's a pre-response. Getting out ahead of Mythos and this release of this model, which is fundamentally just going to change the universe. If you listen to it from security.
And what's Mythos?
It's so interesting. I can't wait till that's in our hands. Yeah.
So Mythos was essentially leaked a couple of weeks ago, when which is hilarious, when Anthropic made a code change and released their entire dev stack by mistake. Like
accidentally published the whole Claude code,
all of the code. Someone made an error at a nerd level and published everything, not the size of their models or anything, but exactly how Anthropic works.
But that was like 12 months ago or something.
No, that was only like
that was
3 weeks ago.
A week and a half.
Whatever it was.
2 weeks ago.
And I actually just quick little side note. I saw a tweet from one of the leads saying this was not a failure of an individual. This was a failure of our process, and there's no blame being cast here. We didn't have our process internally, so that's why we released our entire company stack. But anyway, Mythos. But when there was this thing called Mythos that was released.
It's good PR.
Yeah. Well, that was the other thing that people say. Come on, you're getting it. I don't think so. They released
no one wants to publish the crown jewels accidentally.
Genuine mistake. Yeah. Mythos is essentially a model that I think they spent about $10 billion US developing. All right, so not small. And they discovered that it was exceptionally powerful at breaking down security, like being the world's most incredible hacker.
Yeah, right.
So, and there was some things that it found, like programs that have been, systems have been running for 30 years. It went, oh, wait a minute, that's broken. I can go in and change everything. And I'm like, what the hell? So they've released Mythos to a very select few bunch of organizations. In fact, I think the 6 big banks in the US were
US tech companies and stuff mostly.
Yeah, well, but the banks were called by the Federal Reserve, head of the Federal Reserve over there, and to call together specifically to go, hey, banks, traditionally you've been a bit shithouse at this whole security thing. Yes. So you need to sort it out, and we know that. Banks they say the things, but we've all had experiences where the credit card system's broken fundamentally. I think that actually, just as an aside, I think there should be a agentic currency layer. I think Stripe were talking about doing it because you talked about before, Ben, about what would you give your AI access to? I'd love it to have access to my bank account. Like seriously, if
Why?
Because it can do things that I haven't thought about. Like it can. I wanted to spend money. I wanted to manage my accounts. I wanted to do all of the things. I'm a shithouse I spend way too much money on things. Whereas if I had a
Interesting.
layer that actually was my personal accounts layer, I went, no, wait a minute. That extra service, no, you're not having that. I'm not giving that to you.
Is that when we get a text message saying Ben can't come out tonight because Claude won't let him?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Got him.
But as soon as
can't wait for that moment.
As soon as my credit card gets picked up by hackers, because it will happen, then I'm locked out. I got to cancel my cards. I got to not use things and all the rest. Whereas if there was an agentic financial layer that ran along the top, that only had access to a certain amount of funds. Like I've got a credit card which I have one of those prepaid Visa things which I bought so that I can give it to my OpenClaw and say, go and do some stuff. I don't know, order. Decide, you know what you know about me. Ben, we had this discussion the other day. So Mr. Flintoff came over for lunch and he said, what do I like? And I said, well, just go and ask your AI. Go into my Instagram and find out what I like. And turned up with burgers and chicken wings. So, pretty good.
Win.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what.
Yep. So,
truth be known, that's what I like.
It's a nice correlation. But if I gave my AI and said, "Hey, I'm planning to have someone round for dinner a couple of weeks. Can you just go and order a whole bunch of stuff that turns up from Woolies, and I'll cook it, but I don't want to have to think about it. But it needs access to my bank account to do that. It needs access to accounts." So, what was the question? I don't even know what we're talking about.
Doesn't matter. I'm gonna circle back.
It's fascinating because I think someone like Apple is probably best placed for that, right? So it's not like Apple Pay, right?
Dude.
Because it's a dynamic credit card that kind of gets generated on every transaction. And so it's.
Can I give you my Apple thoughts? Can I give you my Apple thoughts? This is something that
I'd love to.
I'm going to get on my soapbox because I tweeted maybe.
Don't hit your head on the ceiling fan behind you.
So I absolutely am backing for Apple to take over everything.
Good.
Because their moat, their defensible moat is hardware.
Yeah,
it is
totally.
Absolutely hardware.
The audience.
But not only do they have the audience, at the moment when we use any of these IDEs, whenever we use Claude, whenever we use Perplexity, we have to agree to do things. You're constantly pressing allow, don't allow, give permissions to do this or whatever, okay? So it's working in an environment that is not its natural environment. Apple's OS level is the environment. It's a hardware layer. It's an OS layer. It's an integrated ecosystem. So you've got your phone, you've got your iPad, you've got your glasses. You'll have your actual office, your normal glasses coming out. You've got Vision Pro. All of these things exist within a hardware layer, and you exist across all of them, and it knows exactly what you're doing. And you also got to remember, Siri's been around for like 20 years. So even though it's crap at the moment, it won't be crap for very much longer. And when they released their new MacBook Pro, what was it, 3-4 weeks ago, and it's like a $7,000 laptop. You could use it like a $40,000 server to literally put massive models on and run $7,000. Everyone's like, damn, this is an expensive laptop. I'm like, that's a cheap server. So they did that. And then a week later, they came out with the Neo, which was in Australia, $900 laptop. Like, holy, and it's incredible. It will be the default laptop for all school users from now on in. So they've suddenly, just all of a sudden, they've grabbed the top of the range $7,000 laptop for all the people doing the hardcore agentic stuff, and then they've swooped in, and now they're getting our kids again through their OS with a $900 laptop, which they're probably making money on anyway. But what they're doing is introducing the next generation, which disappeared off to Windows, back into the Apple ecosystem, and give it maybe, I reckon, 12 months. They're going to go, okay, the next OS is just an agentic OS. So instead of saying...
Is this like the Commonwealth Bank giving out school bank accounts to kids?
It really is. That's how it works. But instead of me saying, Claude, can you do X? I'll just say, hey, Siri, I'll probably turn on people's Siris, but hey, Siri, can you just open up... my Siri's talking now. Sorry, Siri. Can you just open up the...
I found some web results.
Yeah.
I can show them if you want.
That's perfect.
Brilliant. So it's working.
Now it's open up my phone and show me some web results. So thanks for that. So, but I can direct through voice something to happen on my screen, to do something or whatever. And it knows exactly all the context. It's like I was saying before about my email. My agent, my Claude knows all about me. So Apple knows way more about me than
no friction points. Interesting.
Exactly right. So that's going to be the difference.
That's a very interesting thought. It's
going to happen. It will happen. It's definitely.
I want to circle,
100%.
Rich. I want to circle back onto this source mapping accident at Claude, because you said it was like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. Now, if that had happened 12 months ago, that would have been an absolute disaster, I reckon. But right now, with the pace of what we're talking about, is it even a problem? Like, are we?
I think what it's done is it's brought, so much proprietary knowledge has gone into building the harness or the app that you're using, right? Mm-hmm. So you've got, if you sort of, people talk about AI in these broad terms, but it's actually a whole bunch of, it's its own little stack, and there's a whole bunch of different apps and things in there doing the work. You have the LLM, which is the large language model, which typically runs in the cloud, and that's doing all of the processing. And then you have, they call it the harness these days, or the app. That's what Claude Code is, or the Claude app that you run on your local laptop. And you have this kind of like dance between the two. The local app is kind of remembering the context and other sorts of things, and then you have that kind of couple of seconds wait while it goes away to the cloud and then comes back with its answer, or the generated code blocks, or whatever it is that you're doing. I think what the leak has done is it's shown the internet how Anthropic builds and what the components of their local harness are. How they manage memory, how they manage context, how they they publish some of these things for you to get access to with skills. There's kind of like hooks and other sorts of things, but you never really get to see under the hood. And now it's kind of like everyone's sort of had a look under the hood. And what it's kind of meant is that I think a lot of competitors can poach ideas from that accidental leak and sort of see how things like, how should I manage local memory? What parts of a conversation are important? How do I stack those things for,
Will they only ever be the second best Claude though?
Yeah, no. And that's the thing. I'm not sure if the velocity is such that I'm sure that they've got, another, 80, 100 ideas that, in 3 months' time, those things will kind of be old hat. But it's fascinating to look at and sort of see. I mean, there's many great. LangChain has just open sourced their stuff too, which is also pretty awesome. So, and of course, there's OpenClaw. So there's lots of projects you can look at to sort of understand how these things work. It's just that Claude Code is such a complete product that it's just fascinating to see how that works and sort of do a bit of a tear down internally. And so I think.
And where do you sit, Ben?
It doesn't impact their share price or the valuation because their velocity is so high.
And so it hasn't impacted in the last 2 weeks. Is that right?
Yeah,
I don't think anyone's cancelled an account because of it.
No,
interesting.
not at all. But, I think people got a bit annoyed with regard to the token use recently with Claude because it was just being stupid. Like people, I was burning my tokens in like 2 hours, and previously 6 or 7. But I honestly think part of that is just the fact that I'm leaning so much more into it that I'm actually not necessarily understanding how much I'm using. But I'm going to go back to my previous comment about Apple taking over and being the one winner, which I think they will. But I also believe that where we always look for, okay, who's the biggest, in the market or whatever. All of these deliverers, the Googles, the Microsofts, the Claudes, the OpenAIs, the Anthropics, the OpenAIs, they all do things slightly different. They've all got a different approach to doing things. And what I've started doing is actually getting them working together. So my OpenAI, my Claude Code, and my Codex, I'm starting to pull them together so that they all have, and this is what I'm doing with my BOS, they all work within the BOS because they're all using .md files, and they all have their little roles. So my Monterey, my OpenClaw person is called Monterey Talon. Monterey because of Hendrix and Talon because of Claw. So I talk to her like a person. I'll ring her and speak to her, and she does things and all the rest. Like it was quite fun choosing her voice. But she watches what I'm doing in my Claude projects, and then is actively tasked with going out and going into X and looking up things that relate to that. Now, I could get Claude to do that, absolutely. But I want a different model to do something different and bring something different to the party. And in the last couple of weeks, I've started to use Grok a hell of a lot more because she has, Grok for me as a girl, like Monterey, there's a theme here, she's less filtered. You know, I've got cannabis clients. If I talk to Claude about cannabis, it's so boring. Whereas if I talk to Grok about cannabis and trends and design and things like that, she swears, she tells me just stuff that, and it's all amazingly, like Grok's model is just to the second, to the absolute second in terms of news and releases and things. So all of these models are doing, all these tools are doing slightly different things, and you put it in, you just get something exceptional. So I don't think there's going to be a winner. Apple's going to win. But to your point, Ben, you know, it's at the moment Anthropic's essentially at the top, but you know that's mainly because of that defense contract thing that went on with the US. So yeah,
all right.
Use the tools.
Apple's played it strategically very different to the other companies as well too. They've just
done what they always do.
And I think that's actually a competitive advantage for them for sure.
Well, in my opinion, Apple is just a little bit slow to act, and I think that's because they have a duty of care.
No, it's not. It's how they do. It's not. They don't have a duty of care at all. They don't give a shit. They do not care. They want to get all of this crap out of the way so that they can actually release something which blows people's minds. The next level of control for us is definitely hardware. It's glasses. It's 100% glasses. That is where we're moving. I've been using the Snap glasses from when they first came out, 10, 15 years ago, whatever. I owned every version of those. I've owned every version of the Meta glasses. The Apple glasses, which will apparently launch next year, not with displays or anything, just a way of having, it's invisible AI. My second favorite piece of tech are my Meta Ray-Bans. Like they are just, the invisible nature of these damn things is just incredible. And so hardware is where it's at.
Do we ask what your favorite piece of tech is? Or
I'd be wrecked if it wasn't for my phone. That fundamentally. But in saying that, the glasses, like I had to drive down to the Gold Coast today, and I spent because I got caught in a bit of traffic, 3 hours talking to Grok on my glasses, like 3 hours, just doing that. And yes, I absolutely could, use my AirPods or whatever, but it was just, I didn't have to put my AirPods on. I didn't have to use my, connect my iPhone to my car and use my stereo. I could just, and when I got out of the car, I just continued the conversation. I didn't have to put sunglasses on. I just got out of the car. Everything was seamless.
You really are a nerd.
I am.
Let's change direction for a second.
Help me cook dinner the other night too.
I'm going to come back to a topic, but I want to talk about arts, music, arts, creativity. Like, are we going to be less crafty because AI can just do this stuff for us? Like, I've seen like short form videos fully created by AI, which would blow away some of even the recent release movies that we've been doing. Talk to us about tools like Suno and Coachella and where it all fits in on the creativity angle. You go first, Richard.
I love Suno, actually. I am a talentless musical hack at best. So, I rate my skills very close to zero. But I can turn up on Suno and I can bash in a few words and mess around with the prompt, and it comes out sounding pretty good. Like
This is going to be a good chat. This is going to be a good chat.
And like, it's you start that at 6 p.m. on a Saturday, and then you get to 2 a.m. Sunday morning, and you're just like, I've got to go to bed. You've made 4 or 5 tracks. Like, it's a blast. It really is. And I'm not trying to make a record. I'm not trying to share that with anyone. It's just pure personal enjoyment there, knocking out a country and western hip hop song. Or whatever you want to do.
That famous genre,
yeah, with some banjo and cello in there. Why not? And I don't know. I quite enjoyed it. And as for sort of doing movies and stills and images and stuff like that too. That is I mean, a lot of that stuff has been around for a lot longer, I think. But it is, it's just, you can get such a sort of an output with such a small amount of time that I just find it very satisfying and personally enjoyable. I'm not trying to make commercials or anything like that, but it's a hoot. I love it.
And for reference, you wouldn't consider yourself normally an arty or musical person. You've actually been brought to that, that hobby, if you like. Is that a fair comment? So it's actually worked in reverse.
I would probably say, yeah, in some sense. Like if I had to, I'm not going to spend the amount of time it would take to become proficient in instruments, right? Or anything like that. I'm not going to sit down there and learn how to use animation software because the time investment is just too high. But in terms of prompting something, sure, I'll give it a go and I'll mess around with the tools, jump in. I mean, there's almost no downside of having a crack, right? So you can pick it up and run with it. If you get stuck, there's a YouTube tutorial for everything these days. So jump on there and find the one that's the shortest. Just 5 minutes. Tell me everything I need to know. Okay, great. I go and have a play around with it.
Interesting.
It's awesome. It's very, very, very rewarding, very satisfying, I find. Yeah.
Now, Ben, you are musical.
How long?
So where do you sit?
It's just actual talent.
How long have you got? So we'll say one thing first. The personal experience of art and music is personal. So, Rich, if you have joy in doing exactly what you're doing, that's all that matters.
Yeah,
it is all that matters. If you create something that actually makes your soul sing, and you've put your hand to it, and it's AI or it's hitting a tin can or whatever, that's it. That's all that matters on a personal level. However, there's always a however. From a commercial perspective, that's when the game changes. And I lent heavily. So I'm in a couple of bands and I've played music for a long time, and I'm going to disappear off camera in a minute and grab something to bring back to camera, but you guys keep talking. It'll only take me a minute.
If he plays a song, I'm turning.
No, I'm not going to play a song. I'm going to show you something. Right? So I lent heavily into electronic music in terms of creating. I play guitar. I sing in a couple of bands. I've always been in garage bands. Huge Jimi Hendrix fan. His signature's hanging on my wall. I've named my firstborn after him. I've sat on his grave. I've probably got the largest Hendrix LP and 45 collection in Australia. So I'm in my music, but I'm also in my technology. And I actually had this exact same discussion with Larry Mitchell, the Grammy winner, Larry Mitchell, because my perspective was, okay, if we're giving musicians the tools to do these things, we can produce better music. We can do things faster. And I also said that if there's less jobs, then there's more time to be creative. and universal basic income is going to bring us round so that we can sit there and be creative and roll out all this cool stuff. And he just flat out disagreed with me, and I had to agree with him afterwards. He said, if you haven't felt pain or suffering or been on some kind of journey, the music is not there. The best songs come from experiences, and the best songs come from bad experiences. They just do. The best art comes from actually feeling. You can't have you can't have a high without having a low. So art is essentially about suffering and journey. And if we're in a position where we're all just happy and on a universal basic income and can make as much music as we want to by pushing a button, that's not art, that's not music.
Interesting.
So I do come around to that. But in saying that, the tools that are being used by musicians with AI are helping. Well, I released a song. I normally release songs that are rock and grunge and stuff like that. I released my first ever R&B song because I took what I'd written with my guitar with chords and lyrics and awesome stuff and chucked that into Suno, and it threw me back an R&B stack. I was like, that's flipping cool. But
That's awesome.
That.
Yeah.
It is. But I took that, went to the studio, and I used my Fender Strat to play the strum that it made, play the chords, and sat with my producer and layered my audio and put on my vocals. And the only AI part I used was choir vocals, which is sort of for the BVs, which you can do programmatically anyway. That's not AI. That's just something back in the day you'd have to have a choir come in, but now you have choir pads. So I was using AI as inspiration. And I can tell you right now, I would have never have released an R&B song unless I'd put that into AI and did exactly what you just said then. You'd released a country rock and roll or whatever it was, country hip hop. Yeah. I would never have thought to put my blues song and turn it into R&B. I was like, make that R&B. I'm like, that's a damn good song. That's very, very cool.
But so you're seeing it as an enabler of creativity.
It is absolutely an enabler. And
interesting.
It's if you were to give me a set of oil brush, oil paint and some brushes, I would do a terrible painting. Like, I've got those tools. I would do a terrible
I'm pretty
painting.
sure I can paint black poles though.
Yeah,
like
yeah. You can do that.
There's not a lot going on there.
Yeah, but the whatever gets put, because I know I'm a bad painter. I could learn it. I could be great. But if I was to give Picasso or even just some bloke who's out there who's a better painter than me exactly the same tools, they could produce art.
Yeah.
So what we've got is a scenario where we've all got the same tools, but the ability to be able to create is in the experience. It's in the person, and I think that's fundamentally the same with coding. It's what we were saying before. It's the same with coding. It's
the tools. The pain and suffering to be a great artist probably explains why our kids love Taylor Swift.
She's amazing. She is an incredible artist. Yeah, like her ability to be able to create music now is exceptional. But she did the hard yards. She's got scars all over her hands from her guitars.
100%.
So she has gone through that. We now see her as the antithesis of, she is everything wrong with pop essentially. But that's not where she was. Now keep talking. I'm going to go away and come back. So just keep talking.
I think she's amazing. And speaking of kids, I think let's circle back onto AI and education, Richard, because you've got a school-age daughter. Ben's got school-age kids. My girls have just finished high school, but are in university. In particular, one daughter is navigating an IT degree, and AI has actually got her questioning her future. There's some genuine uncertainty about where the scale and speed of AI leaves, someone doing an IT degree. And, we're talking now about next generation's reality, I guess. And I'd love to not get distracted by a guitar in my face. Go on, talk us through this.
So this is a guitar, an INXS owned guitar. So this was owned by INXS, the band. All right, and played by them. Okay, this is a hand-carved Maori guitar from New Zealand with power inlays. It's got teeth. It's a wooden, made of wood, but it's got all this beautiful
That's
power in it.
incredible.
It's absolutely amazing. So it's, like I say, owned by NXS. I'm trying to find the carver at the moment. Now, what I was saying before about when I picked up this guitar, it has an energy, it has a magic, it has the embodiment of creativity that is absolutely just in this guitar for everything it is. When I play it, I play differently. Now I can
Just move back to your microphone, mate.
Oh, sorry, I could play when I play it. I play differently because of what it is as a tool. Now I could type into Suno, give me a riff or type whatever, but it wouldn't be able to play. It wouldn't be able to produce what I can produce when I play this guitar.
Interesting.
So it's like I say, even though all these tools exist, they don't necessarily bring out the humanity all the time. Sorry. Anyway, back to education stuff.
Yeah, no, that's a nice piece. Thanks for sharing it. So where we were sitting was I was talking about I've got a daughter who's doing an IT degree and just questioning, the value that could possibly be extracted with the rate of change, that AI is showing. And I just wondered, as someone who's working in the industry, Richard, and someone who's deep in the weeds, Ben, where do you sit on AI and education? Like, how should I talk to her about this?
Rich?
I think you've got to be across the tools, right? First, no question. And so I think if the degree, because university degrees will kind of like lag, what industry's doing, and particularly seeing as the pace that AI is moving at. I think you've got to make it your job to get across the tools, for starters. And that means you're using AI, and it kind of means persisting with it too, kind of like flailing around with it a little bit and failing and doing it wrong and having some unsuccess till you get to the point where you kind of get how it works to turn that into something. And you've got to know what good looks like as well. If you don't know what good looks like and you don't have taste or you don't have a point of view, then it's going to be really hard, I think, to generate that success, because you need that accomplishment of producing something that you're happy with. You've got to have a North Star, I guess, is kind of what I'm saying when you start working with these things. And if there's like interning, or if there's some other sorts of environments that can be layered in there to sort of help provide a reason to work with these things, because there has to be a point to what you're doing, then that's probably a value as well. But that's what I would say. You've just got to take it on yourself, and it's really helpful to be deep in an area, like understand design, understand color, understand. This is the classic Steve Jobs story of how he took a detour and sort of did calligraphy classes when he was cutting stuff that he was supposed to be doing, but it turned out that led to the Mac having all these incredible fonts, because he understood stroke and width and all these other sorts of things that people didn't. The Mac was ahead of Windows for years on that sort of stuff. It's why it took over multimedia and graphic design, desktop publishing, all those sorts of things.
So it was known as sort of the art, the arty computer for a long time. I think that sort of label's been lifted. Now, Ben, over to my daughter loves building things. She's deeply curious, very, very hardworking, over almost to a fault. Do you think there's a meaningful difference between a graduate who spent 3 years learning to think like a programmer, debugging, learning those principles, system thinking, like what Richard's suggested is going to be valuable, versus someone who's just learned how to prompt really, really well? Like in 2029, when she graduates, will an employer even give a damn?
Well, I actually think even the prompting scenario is just going to die away. All of the AI courses and things that are out there at the moment talk about making the perfect prompt. It's not about making the perfect prompt. It's about having the right idea. It's about actually having that vision, like you're saying, Rich. It's about understanding the little things, because the little things make all the difference for the big things. I do worry, however, in saying that. I do worry. I've got a 19-year-old who's graduated from school and doesn't necessarily know what he wants to do with his life. He'll go into do something with his hands, which is fantastic, and I actually think that's probably where most of the world's going to go. And my 16-year-old who graduates at the end of the year at a year 12, he literally did. He never said anything about doing anything related to the trades at all, and independently decided that he was going to do a Cert 2 in plumbing, because he's like, well, if I'm going to leave school. He saw it coming. He's like, I'm going to leave school. I can straight away go into a trade that is going to earn me money while I decide what I want to do with my life. Never mentioned plumbing, never mentioned electricity, never ever in his life. But
I think it's a great choice, actually.
It's a great choice, but he doesn't want to be
the most
plumbing.
defensible, right?
But he can, literally, we had the graduation the other day, and people talking about, I'm going to go into plumbing. I'm not going to do plumbing, but I could. I don't want to, but I now know. And one of his tutors said to him, "Flip, that's some of the best welding I've ever seen." I've never done welding before. So I think right now they're at the best point of just trying stuff, like literally trying stuff. I firmly believe that the humanities is going to come back into being. There is going to be a huge explosion in people-to-people discussion. The arts are going to come back. Live music's going to be absolutely massive. And precisely for what you're saying before, we've got generated music, which is good. We've got DJs, which are great. But there's nothing like sitting down in front of a band and seeing them play something. And it's almost the same scenario that the reason punk came along, the reason that grunge came along. They were a pushback on what was, seen as the grunge. When grunge bands came out, when Pearl Jam came out, they didn't care about singing out of tune. They didn't care about playing the songs 17 different times over 17 different sets. They just didn't give a stuff. So I firmly believe we're going to see a pushback against perfection, against AI. This generation below us is going to go, well, it's you've had it you've got it too easy now. I don't want something to look pretty. I don't want something to do the right thing. And you can see it with memes. The meme culture that exists. I see memes and go, was that done in paint? But it serves a purpose. It's an entertainment. It makes someone smile. It makes someone laugh.
Yeah,
it proves a point. And it's what the Iranians are doing at the moment with all these Lego, things that are going out. It's entertainment. But I think the best thing that someone can do in education at the moment is not necessarily hang their hat on something.
Interesting. Be a generalist.
Be a generalist. You have to be a generalist at the moment, because at the moment, being a specificist, as if that's a word,
we'll run with it.
It will absolutely just pigeonhole you.
I think specialist is the version.
That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, don't be a specialist.
So Richard, if you're advising my daughter, and you know her, and she's not going to be a plumber, so I want actual advice now. What would you tell her to focus on for the next 2 years that I think AI is unlikely to replace? She loves IT. She loves design. From a big school in the States, she was the IT student of the year. So that's sort of in her blood. Where should she be focusing her attention?
I think understanding the roots of the craft. So you're thinking about design, but you rewind that 50 years and looking at like data rams and, sort of like go right back before computers, like understand function, understand, like, just you immerse yourself in the experience that you're trying to deliver. And so much like Ben was saying before, you have that emotional bedrock, right, that you're then layering things up on top of, and that delivers the experience. And so it's kind of like really easy to use AI to deliver the cosmetic things at the top, because it can churn out so much variation there. But if you've got the bedrock underneath, then I think that's what makes it unique, and that's the value that you can layer into the equation that is that is very hard to duplicate. And so I think it's the fundamentals, I would say. So like, yeah, explore outside the field. Yeah, just kind of like what Ben said before too. You know,
Interesting.
understand the things that sit around that. Understand how people work. How's this going to feel?
Yeah.
How is this? How are we going to deliver this? You know, what we're actually trying to do here. Okay, you say you want this to look good, but why do we want it to look good? Okay, we're trying to sell something. We're trying to improve conversion. Okay, what is it? What are we trying to deliver? Is it you know, if it's health, is it Formula One? Is it, you know, sports? Is it you know, what are we trying to do? And sort of, you know, really understanding the customer and the target user, and yeah, those sorts of things. And so I
Hit
think
the nail on the head there, dude.
it's more
understanding the audience.
understanding the audience. Yeah, it's more core and more essential, and I think that takes time to develop, right? Because you need empathy, you need those very human skills as a sort of as a foundation for that type of stuff. But there's a lot in craft as well. There's a lot in history. Like go to the places, read the classics. You know, do the turn up those kinds of things wherever it is. You know, if it's art and design, you know, you go to the Smithsonian, you go to Milan, you go to the Tate Modern. You know, you look at those things, and you kind of like, you know, you take on the experience of those things. And I think it I think it contributes to how to what your output's like at the end of the day, and sort of probably too on some level how you relate to those sorts of things as a person.
Take a breath. Take a breath. Like literally take a breath and just breathe in the world.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
it. You reminded me of an experience where I went to a famous museum, and you walk into the first room and you like stay there for half an hour and you soak it all in, and by the end of the day you just sort of stick your head into the room and go, "Yep, I get it."
Well, it's like the Louvre, right? You go to the Louvre and it's got all these wings and all these rooms, and you're kind of like, it's closing time, and you're like, I've got 4 rooms. I haven't even made it down a wing yet. And it's like 3 levels or something, you know? Yeah.
Hey, so I reckon we're sort of getting towards the end. And I think listeners who've stuck with us, thank you.
All 3 of you.
What keeps you up at night? Yeah, all 3 of them, we can name them.
Yeah.
What's keeping you up at night? Like, I'm not talking about an apocalypse, but is there a real near-term worry that you think about in relation to AI?
Quantum computers.
What do they do?
They like the computers that we've got at the moment are like 1 grain of sand versus a beach is what a quantum computer does. And it's been talked about since for decades, but we are getting so close to quantum computing, and the changes that will make to everything is scary. Like, not scary in the most amazing way, but the power that certain governments, corporations, individuals will have, it will when quantum computing becomes real in the commercial sense of the word, encryption will be nothing, like nothing. Just generations of doing things in certain ways will be gone. Like Bitcoin is nothing because it can be solved by quantum computing. So that's a real nerdy thing to say, but you can go deep into that field and you will see what's coming. And to pair that with AI, it's going to be incredible. Now, we will either have the most fundamentally amazing term of humanity or not so much. So yeah, look like that went hardcore nerdy and scary, but yeah, look it up.
Where do you sit, Richard? Is there anything that you're thinking about?
You know, I mean, often what keeps me up at night is actually learning something exciting at the end of the day, and then not being able to sleep because you're trying to unpack the meaning of that while you're supposed to be sleeping, right? So you're like it'll be you'll be wrapping something up. You're doing a bit of prompting or something. It's 9:30, 10, or okay, I've got to go to bed. I've got to get up, in the morning, get the kids off to school, whatever. And then you'll come across something and you'll think, I wouldn't have thought of that like that, but particularly from, using Claude Code to code things up. Often Claude will make different choices to the choices I make. And sometimes you're trying to steer it in a direction because architecturally you think that that's the right direction to go. And other times Claude will make a suggestion and you go, that's a really interesting way to think about a problem. And of course, Claude's been trained on the world's code. I'm a industry professional, 40 years experience at writing software. I've seen a lot of stuff, but I haven't seen everything. And so you'll get an idea, and it's just like, and sometimes you just can't put it down, right? That's what keeps me awake at night is possibility, I guess, and I find that very exhilarating and very exciting. So
interesting. So the question was supposed to be keeps you awake at night with worry, but you're actually staying awake with excitement. That's an interesting take. Yeah. For me, I like to know that I can unplug it. Like I'm happy to work with AI and I'm accepting, but I'd love to know that. I don't know. I haven't. My toes are in the water. I haven't dived in yet, so that's where I sit. It's about me. Not about you. So.
All right. I'm looking forward to the next one, Ben.
Speaking of the next one, there is a chance this will become there will be a follow-up podcast. We'll see what the listener engagement's like. But speaking of our listeners, what's one thing, a low barrier action? Like what's one thing that they can go and do even in the next 7 days just to engage with AI to get themselves either to my level, which I'll give a suggestion, but fit to your level, Ben, if someone's playing in your field, and Richard yourself as well. Like, what's something that a listener can take away right now and just go and do? What do you recommend, Ben?
I think sign up for a service that's not the service that you've already signed up for, if you've signed up for one. Like actually try something else. If you're firmly in the Gemini camp, have a crack at OpenAI. Like just do something different. Run the same project in a different way. Although probably the main thing that I would say apart from doing that is just use your voice more than you use your fingers.
Interesting.
Your brain works in different ways when you're talking. So if you're used to typing in prompts, like we were saying before, people are still the prompt life is real. Instead of typing in the perfect prompt, just sit there and close your eyes and use your dictation. Every phone's got dictation. You can just hit the microphone thing and just talk. Maybe we talk for 30 seconds, 13 seconds, 3 minutes. Just do it. Doesn't matter if there's spelling mistakes. And I think you'll find you'll have a different outcome. So try a different tool and talk to your AI. Yeah.
What's your low barrier action, Richard?
Mine is pick up a tool and mess around with it. Like, grab Midjourney or something, make a few images, describe an image and see what it comes back with. Finesse it. I want outer space flying ant bananas, or I want whatever. Just dump it out there. See what it comes out with. It's crazy. Or pick up Suno. Make a song. I think Suno you can make 4-6 songs or something for free. And just get kind of used to tinkering, I think. And then I think that the applications will reveal themselves. You'll have something. You'll have some problem. Maybe it's a repeating report at work, or maybe it's some little thing you have to do, a proposal or a PowerPoint, or you've got to present something next Tuesday. Just chuck it in and start.
I like it, and that's where I sat. I'm right at the bottom of the food chain when it comes to this. But I signed up. It was 15 minutes a day that I committed to, and I signed up to a 28-day course, and I got like 8 days in. I was just like, holy shit, I can actually do this. There it is. There's your ant bananas.
There's your outer space flying ant bananas. That's there you go.
Crazy.
There's the title graphic.
That is nuts.
For the podcast.
What was that? 30 seconds.
Yeah. Outer space flying ant
Fantastic.
bananas. Yeah. Well done.
And what did you use? What did you use for that, Ben?
I just use Gemini for that. It's fun.
Gemini. There we go.
Yeah.
Unreal. Unreal. So get started. Commit to 15 minutes a day and use voice. There's the 3 actionable takeaways for our listeners.
Absolutely.
Look, I don't know about you guys, but I've thoroughly enjoyed our chat. This is far and this is like what 8 Bravo Charlie Club episodes.
Like them as 12-minute episodes. Is that what happens now?
So we've absolutely leaned into that one. It's been great being the amateur in the room, which I very, very often am, but in a topic that I'm completely uncomfortable about. Listening to you guys riff on it's been awesome. Thank you so much. How can people get in touch with you, Ben?
I would say LinkedIn, but everyone can find me on LinkedIn. Just Instagram. I'm Ben Slater on Instagram. I'm that old that my name is actually on Instagram. Funnily enough, I was with a whole bunch of really cool sports people in Fiji, like international Olympians and everything, and I was exchanging Instagrams, and they were like, I'm T-Dog Twizzle 7487 or whatever. I was like, I'm just Ben Slater, and they didn't care. They're like, okay, yeah, gold medal. Yeah, but I've got my name on Instagram, so there you go.
There it is. Yep, that's the one. And do you respond to DMs, or is it like
occasionally?
From time to time. Yeah, fair call. Cool.
Oh well.
Richard, listeners can get us from hello at Bravo Charlie Club. I think, is that their email address? Hello at bravocharlie.club.
There we go.
I didn't remember my own email address. Yeah. Or, hey, we'll put links in the show notes anyway. So.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. AI Deep Dive pilot episode is in the bank, or in the ether is probably more apt. Any closing comments, Richard?
No. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
We'll do one tomorrow because it's all changed tomorrow. So I'll meet you.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. There'll be another 17 Anthropic releases in the next 40 minutes. So we'll speak to you in a couple of hours. Cool.
Absolutely. Well, I'll say deep dive out.
Where's my dramatic piano?
There it is. Dramatic
piano.
If you don't mind.